All right, folks. So this was the segment that got away from me. I thought this was going to be a quick, easy one.
The one that got away.
The one that got away. The one that got away. It's a light, funny piece. We like to start out with light, funny pieces. But here's Donald Trump. We will never let the Panama Canal fall into the wrong hands. That's right. Donald Trump has set his sights on the Panama Canal.
Wow.
This reminds me of the meme, you know, the Pawn Stars meme when they say best I can do is blank. We want an anti-war president. Best I can do is attack Panama.
Yeah.
Best we can do is conquer Panama, take the canal back. Yes, Donald Trump at Turning Point USA had this to say about how ripped off we're getting at the Panama Canal.
Being ripped off at the Panama Canal like we're being ripped off everywhere else. A secure, he just said, take it back. That's a good idea. Where do you come from, sir? He doesn't come from Panama. Oh, yeah, good. A secure Panama Canal is crucial for U.S. commerce and rapid deployment of the Navy from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. It's an incredible thing, and drastically cut shipping times down to U.S. ports by days and even weeks. The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal, with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States, and it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of $1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers. 38,000 American men, almost all men, they went there to be construction.
All right. I'm not going to keep doing this, but when you pitched this, I haven't watched this yet. I just assumed this was one of his crazy, would you rather drown or get eaten by a shark? I thought this was one of those things he blurted out.
Yeah.
I cannot believe this is on the teleprompter. They actually decided to have him give a speech about taking back the fucking Panama Canal by design.
Yeah, no, he had all these facts ready to go, and by facts I mean lies.
Wow,
they're not actually facts, as we'll get to. 38,000 American men did not die building the Panama Canal, but we will get into all that. But no, he had this ready to go. This was not like something he said on a whim. No, he had this prepped.
If there's a better example of the way they just want to throw out nonsense and get people fighting over it while they do the real shit on the side, I can't think of it. Like, we're gonna send the Marines into Panama. That's what's gonna happen now.
Well, it worked for at least a few hours yesterday. This was quite the trending topic. It definitely took people's eye off the ball for a little while. He goes on.
Workers and they were diggers. They went there to be construction workers and they were diggers. And they were brave. 38,000 men died from infected mosquitoes in the jungles of Panama during the construction period. Think of that. We lost 38,000 men. Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States at the time of its building and understood the strength of naval power and trade. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1. During his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China. It was likewise not given for Panama to charge the United States, its Navy, and its corporations doing business within our country exorbitant prices and rates of passage, which they do. They charge us like it's a disgrace. Our Navy and commerce have been treated in a very unfair and injudicious way. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama, I say very foolishly, by the United States.
All right. There you have it. Trump threatens to try to take the Panama Canal. Panama's president balks at the suggestion. Donald Trump suggested Sunday that his new administration could try to regain control of the Panama Canal that the United States, quote, foolishly ceded to its Central American ally, contending that shippers are charged ridiculous fees to pass through the vital transportation channel linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Panama's conservative president, Jose Raul Mulino, who was elected in May on a pro-business platform, roundly rejected that notion as an affront to his country's sovereignty. The United States built the canal in the early 1900s as it looked for ways to facilitate the transit of commercial and military vessels between its coasts. Washington relinquished control of the waterway to Panama on December 31st, 1999, under a treaty signed in 1977 by President Jimmy Carter. The canal depends on reservoirs to operate its locks and was heavily affected by 2023 Central American droughts that forced it to substantially reduce the number of daily slots for crossing ships. With fewer ships using the canal each day, administrators also increased the fees that are charged all shippers for reserving a slot. With weather returning to normal in the later months of this year, transit on the canal has normalized, but price increases are still expected for next year. Molino, Panama's president, has been described as a conservative populist who aligns with Trump on many issues. Panama is a strong U.S. ally, and the canal is crucial for its economy, generating about 1/5 of that government's annual revenue. Still, Trump said that once his second term is underway, if the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question. I'm not going to stand for it, Trump said. So to the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly. The United States, this is from his Truth Social tweet, has a vested interest in the secure, efficient, and reliable operation of the Panama Canal, and that was always understood. We would and will never let it fall into the wrong hands. It was not given for the benefit of others, but merely as a token of cooperation with us in Panama. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to us in full and without question. To the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly. Shortly after Trump's speech, Molino released a video declaring that every square meter of the canal belongs to Panama and will continue to belong to his country. Without mentioning Trump by name, Molino addressed Trump's complaints over rising fees for ships crossing the canal, saying they are set by experts who take into account operational costs and supply and demand factors. So here is President Molino telling him in not so many words to basically go get your fucking shine box.
Patriotas, como presidente, quiero expresar de manera precisa que cada metro cuadrado del Canal de Panamá y su zona adyacente es de Panamá y lo seguirá siendo. La soberanía e independencia de nuestro país no son negociables. Cada panameño, aquí o en cualquier lugar del mundo, lo lleva en su corazón y es parte de nuestra historia de lucha y una conquista irreversible. Los tratados Torrijos-Carter de 1977 acordaron la disolución de la ex zona del canal, reconociendo la soberanía panameña y la entrega completa del canal a Panamá, que finalizó el 31 de diciembre de 1999, y pronto celebraremos los 25 años de esta transferencia. Desde entonces, no hubo objeciones ni reclamos. Al contrario, ha sido motivo de fuerte apoyo internacional y orgullo nacional. Se operó y amplió por decisión panameña y hoy representa un gran activo que aporta miles de millones de dólares a nuestra economía.
So, by the way, folks, Trump mentioned China. Just want to throw this in. So this is Xu Jinyang, pardon me, who is the Chinese ambassador to Colombia. He tweets out yesterday, China will, as always, respect Panama's sovereignty over the canal and recognize the canal as a permanently neutral international waterway. we believe that China will continue to make contributions to exchanges and integration among countries and improve human well-being. Hard to believe that, countries would rather deal with China than us. See, that's the kind of spirit you get from China when they make an investment in another country, or in this case, simply acknowledging a country's sovereignty. It's not like a loan from a mob boss. Hey, we're going to build this for you, and then don't fuck us, or we're going to come take it back, and we're going to crush you for it. They actually say we respect your sovereignty. So who do you think people would rather deal with, them or us? Because Trump, on the other hand, then took to his social media site to offer a response. We'll see about that. He also posted a picture of a U.S. flag planted in the canal zone under the phrase, "Welcome to the United States Canal." So again, how China responds to this, how America responds to this. We'll see about that. Welcome to the United States Canal. A tale of two powers, ladies and gentlemen. A tale of two powers.
I like how he's handling himself, though. I'm going to use that. If someone's like, "You're 2 hours late," I'm going to go, "China."
Yeah, China. Right, exactly.
You can get out of anything that way. China.
Yes. So this created quite the brouhaha on Twitter. Libs of TikTok, all of a sudden, an expert on this topic, apparently.
Yes.
An estimated.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Every random asshole with an anti-woke account is an expert on everything, don't you know?
Right. That they know as soon as Trump says something, they're an expert in that topic, right? An estimated 25,000 Americans died building the Panama Canal, which Jimmy Carter gave away. Now, as you can see, that is reader noted, which we'll get to in a moment. But here come the idiots. All of a sudden, they know, man, this is so frustrating. Those folks sacrificed their lives for it, and we just handed it over? That ain't right. It's a tragic fact, says NLR, that around 25,000 Americans lost their lives building the Panama Canal, a monumental feat of engineering and sacrifice. Yet in a move that defies logic and patriotism, Jimmy Carter... What?
Pinko.
Yeah, Pinko. In a move that defies logic and patriotism, Jimmy Carter handed over control of the canal to Panama in 1977. Woke. That's what it was, because he's woke.
Yeah,
that's
he's
his
woke.
problem. Yeah. All that American blood, sweat...
like all the evangelical Christians. They're very woke.
Right.
They're known for it.
All that American blood, sweat, and tears sacrificed for a strategic asset that Carter essentially gave away, weakening our global position and showing a disturbing lack of respect for the legacy of those who died building it. Some decisions can't be undone, but this one will forever be a stain on his presidency. Why would we hand over vital national interest, especially when they've cost so much? Well, one reason why you might hand over a vital national interest is because if you look at a map, the Panama Canal is in Panama. So after a while,
There's that. Yeah.
In order to maintain good relations, hey, this is on your lands. It's been a century, so it's yours now. It's yours now. Because like I said, not every leader is Tony Soprano on the world stage. Not every American leader functions that way, although most of them do. On the right,
you know what else was different then? When you polled people around the world, most of them liked us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. People liked America back then. Exactly. Exactly. I love this one. I always heard Carter was the worst president, but that was before my time, so I never knew what he did. Yeah. This is what people really hate Jimmy Carter for, by the way.
And now you know what he did because you read about it on X.
Right. 5 minutes ago.
Now
Exactly.
you know all about his whole administration. Yeah.
Now this guy's lost. Why do you all suddenly care about this? What's happening? This is what happens. This is the way a lot of people absorb news on X. You'll see something trending, and you're like, what happened? What happened? So he's a little slow on the uptake. But then you have, this was something we studied in history class. We should have never given it away. Take it back, says Daily Dose.
It's just amazing.
Of X.
Amazing.
Yeah. Hopefully, says Aaron, Trump takes it back and reclaims what is ours. Yeah, real anti-establishment, anti-imperialist vibes coming from the MAGA faithful.
No, it's yours, third fry cook at the Burger King.
Yeah, right.
It's yours.
Right.
Yeah, no, we take this back. It's a triumph for you personally. It's really going to improve the value of your life and your standing in the community.
Well, Trump has really succeeded in making people feel like personally attached to the fate of billionaires in the military-industrial complex. We have the most beautiful planes in our military. Who we?
Right.
You mean me? No.
Right.
You mean Raytheon got paid to build. You mean Boeing got paid to build the weapons? Like that.
Right.
Those are who get rich off of that. It's theirs. It's not ours. But he has been very successful in convincing people that what is in the billionaire's interest and what is in the military-industrial complex's interest is in their interest. You have ownership over that.
Right.
He's been successful in that. So now comes the opposition. This is not true, you moron, meaning 25,000 Americans did not die building the Panama Canal. And this brings us to the reader note. Out of the 25 to 30,000 deaths during the construction of the Panama Canal, only about 5,600 were American workers. And you'll see there is a major asterisk next to that 5,600 figure, which the community note did not account for. Of course, the French oversaw the first phase of the Panama Canal, and then America took it over once they failed. Okay, so if you ask Grok, which is X's AI, break down the deaths of workers building the Panama Canal by nationality. So Grok says only 31 U.S. citizens died during the American construction phase, which is wrong. And so Grok is very flawed. It can lead you in the right direction, but you always have to vet the source. See, in the bottom right corner of the Grok fact, there's a source, and we're going to get into that in a second. Caribbean workers, primarily from Barbados, Jamaica, Martinique, and Guadeloupe, out of the 5,609 workers who died, the majority were from the Caribbean, with numbers from specific islands not fully documented but known to be significant. And then it gives you a breakdown in the year 1910. Okay, so if you notice, the source for that second claim there is a think tank called the Progressive Policy Institute, which actually sourced their claims from official documents at the time, the Isthmian Canal Commission, which put out annual reports on worker deaths. All right, the first claim was sourced from Ivor Powell 4.0. Like it just crowdsources what people are saying and presents them as answers. So that 31 U.S. citizens died, that was according to the report from 1910. So that was 31 American deaths in one specific year. Okay, but here is from the more credible source. The initial French attempt to build the canal in the 1880s, before the discovery of the mosquito vector for yellow fever, proved beyond the reach of the 19th century technology and failed at the cost of 22,000 lives. So that was the French effort.
But really, we should give this to France.
Well, we're getting to it. The successful early 20th century American effort wasn't much safer. 5,609 of the 56,000 workers, mostly recruited from Barbados, Jamaica, and other Caribbean islands, died over the 8 years of construction. So they were mostly not Americans. They were workers from the islands that America contracted and therefore they now count as Americans. Right. See, getting a clearer picture now in your head, starting to all kind of come together, folks, right? By country, the Canal Commission's 1910 death toll included 167 workers from Barbados, 113 from Jamaica, 49 from Martinique and Guadeloupe, 60 from other Caribbean islands, 48 from Spain, 36 from Colombia and Panama, and 31 from the United States. So 31 documented American deaths in 1910. That's not the total number. It gets to the total number. The Canal Commission's massive labor recruitment on Barbados is said to have brought 40% of the island's working age men to Panama and cut the population from 200,000 in 1900 to 172,000 in 1910. The total workforce added 12,000 from the United States, 16,000 from other Caribbean islands, and 8,000 from Europe and Latin America, to the 20,000 Barbadians. A tenth of them died during construction, 5,609 people. Now, these are considered American deaths, according to the Google searches, because this was during the period where America was overseeing the construction. But of those 5,600 deaths, including 4,290 Caribbean workers. So about 80% of who we count as American deaths were Caribbean workers that we contracted to build the canal. It wasn't Ed and Edna, shipped down from Pennsylvania to go build, right? Of yellow fever, malaria, landslides, explosions, railway accidents, and other illnesses and workplace injuries. So here is a little slideshow from PBS's American Experience, which just breaks down the labor conditions on the canal. The large majority of laborers along the Panamanian Isthmus came from the West Indies, especially from the sugar-producing island of Barbados. By 1907, the labor force consisted of 24,000 men, more than 75% of whom hailed from the West Indies. Here, West Indians worked with tripod drills at the upper Miraflores locks. The vast majority of West Indian workers were given labor-intensive jobs such as digging ditches, cutting brush, carrying lumber, operating rock drills, or fumigation equipment, or dynamiting, which we'll get into in a minute. European workers were paid well at 20 cents an hour and earned a reputation as some of the hardest and steadiest workers. They slept in less crowded barracks and enjoyed special dining areas complete with tables and chairs, which were a rarity. White managers mingle with the West Indian concrete workers that's pictured in that photo above. Segregation in the canal zone was defined by gold and silver status. Largely white gold workers were skilled craftsmen who were paid in gold. Silver workers, mostly black, were typically unskilled and paid in local silver currency. As more U.S. workers remained in Panama for longer periods of time, they formed organizations such as the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainsmen and the Oddfellows. Only white skilled laborers, those on the gold roll, were allowed to access these clubs. Here, the photo above, men practice bowling at the YMCA in Gatun. Picture's getting even clearer, isn't it? Considered the worst task, dynamiting was a job that most West Indian workers had to do at some point. Uncertain of their return, those sent to dynamite would leave their personal belongings with friends. In this image, a laborer stands knee-deep in dynamite debris. So, all of that to say, yeah, we built it, it's ours, we need it back. That's the takeaway from that whole story, is it not? Basically, it's ours. It's ours.
Sure. Yeah. This is a pretty typical example of why, a lot of people, oh, why are you so negative? Well, this is why, because it looks like an op. I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't mean to harp on that. And actually, when we get into the O'Brien thing, I'll have some very positive things to say about the MAGA project, at least on some level, or some parts of it. But this stuff, I mean, Trump just goes up there and lies. He just makes shit up. And okay, all right, you want to say all politicians do it? He's just a little more brazen? Okay, fair enough. But it's interesting when you have this movement that's been so critical of the libs for being mindless, of just going along with whatever Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi tell them, that it's incredible. Like anything Donald Trump says, all of a sudden you're very angry about the fucking Panama Canal, something that, let's face it, you know nothing about.
You know nothing about.
You know absolutely nothing about. Why are you making the argument that we need to go take back an asset that is in another country? This would be like the British arguing, yes, 100,000 British died to keep Africa British.
Right. Right.
So,
of course.
So you built it in another country. You had no choice.
Right.
Because if you wanted this canal,
that's where
that wasn't our land. We had to put the canal through there.
Around. Yeah, right.
Can't move the land. It's their country. And so eventually, in a frankly rare case of conscience and international affairs, Carter went ahead and did the right thing.
Right. Almost 100 full years later. And if you look at...
We didn't get our money's worth.
Right, exactly. If you look at the mythology of it, first of all, Trump says 38,000 Americans died. Obviously way wrong. Libs of TikTok says 25,000 died. Obviously way wrong. Even the official number is only right in a technical sense. They were American in the fact that we paid them. What we basically did was we hired slaves to build it, for the most part, right? The American debts building the canal were probably about 1,000 because of the 5,600 that are counted as American debts, 4,200 were Caribbean islanders who we hired to work for lower wages than the white Americans, eat shittier food than the white Americans, sleep in less comfortable quarters than the white Americans, go and dynamite the zone, which mostly the white people didn't have to do. So we gave them the shittier, more dangerous jobs and treated them lousier. And so way more of them died than people who came from Pennsylvania to go work on the Panama Canal. But the version of history that Donald Trump and Lives of TikTok would have you know is that 38,000 Americans gave their lives for this canal, and so it's ours. And God damn it, we want it back. Now, all this debate notwithstanding, there is one thing we all failed to consider. And Meghan McCain reminds us of this. Trump is right about the Panama Canal. This is very personal. My dad was born in the Panama Canal zone. Didn't think of that. Maybe I should have put that at the top, since that's obviously the most important piece of information
That
when we're
is.
thinking about what to do with the Panama Canal, is that Meghan McCain's father was born in the canal zone.
Yeah, Meghan McCain was really the person the term Nepo baby was created for. If
Yes.
Meghan McCain were not John McCain's daughter, she would be asking you if you want fries with that. Why she feels qualified to weigh in on anything is beyond me. She came off as an idiot on The View. That's when you come off as stupid compared to that brain trust, you got to be a pretty dumb person.
I say Meghan McCain lacks the talent to wait tables at a Cracker Barrel. They would put her at the cash register in the Cracker Barrel. She'd be in the store section.
They'd make her hostess.
Working the register hostess, right? She's not talented enough to wait tables at Cracker Barrel if her father wasn't who he was. And so funny how she should introduce that little factoid.
How are you just not embarrassed? You know, you're this mega Nepo baby.
Right.
You know there's a whole conversation going on in society about Nepo babies right now. Shut the fuck up about your dad. Nobody cares. Shut up.
Cares.
Stay out of it.
How is that relevant to this? How's that relevant to this question that your dad was born there? Wow. But anyway, that's the story of Donald Trump trying to reclaim the Panama Canal. Just funny how bullshit spreads. You know, like I said, with X, when it comes to Grok, even when it comes to the community notes, it's trust but verify. It's trust but verify, right? You got to watch what you read there, because look at all that shit. Look, Libs of TikTok, huge account, tweets out 25,000 American dies. All of a sudden, you got dozens of people tweeting out like as if they knew this all along. Oh, this was something we studied. Really? Where
Right.
did you learn that 25,000 Americans died? Because that's not true. So what history class did you take
Right.
that said that?
Well, I'm
yeah.
sorry. When I look at things like this, on the one hand, I would love to, and again, we'll get into this in the O'Brien-Tucker interview. I would love to feel that the Republican Party is morphing into the new working class party, and they're going to be responsive to the fact that they've brought in all these union members and O'Brien has Trump's ear. I would love to believe that, and I hope it plays out that way. When I see things like this, that is the element where you say, well, this is a pretty typical fascist movement, where you have this partnership between corporate power and the government, where the rich are working hand in hand with the state, and they're selling people who have no particular investment in those institutions on a realistic level, on the idea that they are the good folk and that their self-worth is built on supporting this alliance between corporate power and the state. And in the interest of building that perception, you just tell them the most idiotic nonsense. And this is key. They don't question it.
Right.
That's a key element that makes it play as fascistic to me.
Right.
That you could literally, and this demonstrates it, you could tell these fucking people anything.
Right.
Anything. And it's not just Trump. It's Mark Andreessen going on Rogan and getting everyone mad at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That is incredibly dangerous, that you've got these people who do not have the best interests of the country or the people in it at heart in any way, shape, or form. Mark Andreessen literally robs old ladies of their life savings for a living.
Right.
And you've got these working people screaming the next day about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that they know nothing about, have no understanding of, because he went on Joe Rogan and called it woke.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, out of nowhere, out of fucking nowhere, the guy brings up, we want the Panama Canal
The
back.
Panama
And
Canal. All of a
within
sudden,
minutes,
these people,
all of Twitter, yes,
yeah,
it's
these
ours.
people
yes.
can't. They're obsessed with the Panama Canal.
now they
No,
know
there's
everything.
always been a big issue for me.
Yeah, right.
I have a poster of the Panama Canal zone on my wall.
Within minutes, they know everything. Within minutes,
Right.
libs
Yeah.
of TikTok knows everything about it. Yes, we need to take
It's
this
just
back.
it's very sad, man. It just shows you how many people out there just feel like they have no power, they have no voice, and so they glom onto this to make themselves feel like they're part of a movement. And it's it's a movement. It's a movement for very rich people that really don't care about you, and they're using you insofar as they need you to support their project.
Right. Exactly. Eric Rousseau says Panama stole the land from Colombia by U.S. empire. Well, that's the other thing. We funded the rebels to basically create the political conditions that led to building it, which means that it's our country. That's the logic. The logic is, well, Panama wouldn't exist if not for us, so give it back 100 years later. Look at the difference between the way we treat other countries and the way China treats other countries. When they build roads in Africa, do they come to them and say, okay, now if you don't play ball with us, we're going to invade your country and it's going to be ours? Which is essentially what Trump is threatening to do. You would cripple Panama if you seize the canal. That's 20% of their economy.
Yeah.
Right? So does China treat countries that way? No. We treat countries that way.
Which on the bright side, I got to say, there are probably too many American retirees in Panama for them to really pull that shit.
Please clap.